What is up? Hopefully you guys enjoyed a little bit of the Costa del Sol remix that I found. A nice jazzy tune there. I want to give credit where credit due because it's not something I own, but it's from Rebecca E. Tripp on YouTube. One of my favorite Final Fantasy tunes from the Beach Livin'. As you can probably tell, I'm not Patrick, I'm Owen. Welcome to the TheLanCave, where we are living as nerds each and every single week. I'm going to be riding solo this week, as I believe Patrick has ridden solo a couple times, and I think he had Kevin on. I have been out for a few weeks. Some of you may know I recently became a parent, and it turns out, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, that children require a lot of time and energy. So, I've been taking the first now month of my child's life to get to know the kid and kind of get some routines down. And luckily, Patrick was gracious enough to fly solo while I was gone. And then this week, he is busy with some work commitments and asked if I could step back in. And it turns out I can. So here we are. It's obviously going to look a little bit different most of the time. For those of you who don't know, just a peek behind the curtain, he kind of runs the stream from his end normally. And I don't have all of his setup stuff, so I kind of set up my own scenes. Hopefully they're not too terrible. I'm also going to run my news a little bit differently. But hopefully I sound okay. Hopefully I look okay. I mean, I know I look okay. I'm a beautiful, beautiful man. I'm just kidding. But yeah, let's get into a little bit of what I've been playing the past few weeks. So, you know, I haven't really hit that time yet where it's hard to play video games with the kid because babies sleep a lot. So I managed to play several games. I'll go into them very briefly. I don't know if Patrick mentioned them on a previous episode or not, because I've been kind of keeping him in the know of what I've been playing. But the day that my child was born, very fittingly, for those who cannot see the link right above my shoulder, I actually beat Cadence of Hyrule with my wife. It was funny, like she went into labor right after we finished that game, so that was cool. Great game. If you played Crypt of the Necro Dancer, you'll know it. It's exactly the same, except they put a Zelda skin on it. It's also a lot easier than Crypt. I tried to play Crypt. I still have it. I got it on sale on Switch. It's been on sale several times. If it's not on sale currently, you could probably get it for $2 or $3 down the line. Crypt is really tough. So I tried that out afterwards, but the real reason that I played Cadence was because Zelda. It's a lot easier than Crypt. And it's one of the few games where you can actually play as Zelda in a Zelda title. Like, you can play as Smash and everything, but so obviously I played as Zelda. And then you can co-op, and I co-op with the wife. She jumped in as Link, and we finished that off in a day. I think it took us 5 hours total. So that was real cool. I also picked up Bleed 2 on Switch. That was running at the time on sale. That was like $3 or $4. Really cool twin stick shooter. I really did enjoy that. Again, just a short experience. I think it took me, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours to beat that game as well. So that has been... that was fun, playing that. Cool soundtrack too as well. The first Bleed, I skipped over that one, but if you had heard of that, it's very similar, except they added a sword to Bleed 2. After that, I went into the backlog and I went and finished Let's Go Pikachu. I had gotten like halfway whenever that came out, and now I finished that. It's so much easier than Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. Finished it in about half the time. Red and Blue on casual is just somewhere around like a 40-hour game for me, maybe 30. and I finished Let's Go in 20. Put about 10 hours into that during the kids' nap time. Then I took a break from Switch, went over to the Xbox land. There's a indie game, bigger indie game that came out on that called Outer Wilds, which is the best way that I've heard it described, and so I'm just stealing it from the internet, is that it's kind of like Space Myst. So if you are a fan of the Myst series, where you have like exploration mode, well, it's like that in space. It's open world space. You're trying to unravel a mystery. There is no combat. There is mechanics to it. There is some annoying mechanics, to be honest. In particular, there's a time mechanic on there where I won't spoil too much of it, but there's a time mechanic at different points in the game that's kind of annoying. But a really cool game. If you're looking for something, it's extremely chill. There will be points where you get a little stressed out from the space, because it felt really realistic, actually. Not everything about it, because you can take off from your planet and be in space in a matter of seconds, so obviously that's not completely realistic, but in terms of moving around in space, that was pretty cool. What else? I'm gonna skip over Kamiko. I don't really have anything good or bad to say about it. I played it for like an hour. It was and then for the last several days, I've been playing Persona 5. Now, I told the viewers that I would play that during this leave, and it's turned out to be the perfect time to play it. It's an extremely long JRPG. Right now, I just hit 50 hours, and I think I am about 80% through the game, if one of the graphs is accurate, if it's telling of the game. So yeah, all turn-based, no active time battles. So anytime like the kid, has decided to wake up and cry, I'm able to easily pause it. Easily just, I can stop mid-combat. I don't have to worry about dying. I don't have to worry about anything of that. So that's cool. If you played previous Personas, I feel like they're exactly like the same in terms of you're inside of a school. You're a high school student, and you're fighting the forces of evil with your spiritual being there things. It's a very famous game, so I'm sure that most of you have heard of it, but just in case you haven't, it's now on the PlayStation Classic list. I think you can get it for $20. Definitely worth $20. I picked it up, I think for $25 during one of the Black Friday sales last year, and I'm getting my money's worth. I'm hoping to finish it before I go back to work, and that should be a good time. I think that's going to be the last game I get to play in terms of just before, during that downtime. So the routine's kind of like, feed the kid, change the kid. Kid's asleep, play some games, and then start all over again. Obviously with like chores and stuff in there as well, lots of laundry, lots and lots of laundry. But yeah, that's just, that's kind of what I've been playing the past few weeks. What have you been up to this summer? As usual, the summer's kind of a lull for games. The only thing that I really saw of huge interest that came out was Outer Wilds. That's why I picked it up and I checked it out. There's something coming out in a couple weeks, and I'm gonna brain fart on it. Oh, Fire Emblem, Three Houses. I've actually been reading some previews from different people who are playing it. I don't think the review embargo is up yet, but a lot of people are saying that Fire Emblems is great. If you like strategy RPGs, it's also very lengthy, so you'll probably be getting a good bang for your buck on the Switch there. And we do have some Switch news coming up later. That's what I'm actually going to be ending with. But yeah, there's not really a whole lot else coming out like this month. It's kind of chilling until the fall. No, there was one. There was one game. Is it Into the Deep? There's an indie game that I have downloaded that I'm hoping to check out soon, but I didn't want to start it while I'm in the middle of Persona because I don't want to drop Persona. I've gotten invested. I want to finish that. So yeah, what have you guys been playing? Feel free to leave that in the comments. Let me check something here. I'm just making sure that the stream is looking okay. Because again, I'm not normally the one that runs this. So, cool. Seems like it's going fine. Again, this news thing is going to look differently. I do not play like videos the same way that Patrick does, so do bear with me. What I'm going to be doing is I'm actually just going to be showing you the news articles that I'm going over. Give some credit there. So let me start that out. And also, cool, what I added, and maybe for those of you who like the live thing, is I'm actually including the chat on screen as well. So in the future, if I'm ever doing these, I hope to, while I'm playing games and everything, have a live chat. That way that's easily viewable. So where we're going to start is PC Gamer. And this comes by way of PC Gamer. Gears 5 is going to cut all references to smoking and tobacco. The Microsoft and the Coalition worked with an anti-smoking organization, which I believe is Truth. Is that the... yes, the Truth Initiative. If you guys didn't know, Truth Initiative has been going towards a lot of companies right now to remove tobacco from games. So one of the heads of Coalition said that he's seen firsthand the devastating impact of smoking. So they're removing that. And what is weird to me about this is you murder a lot of people in this game. They're aliens most of the time. I think you might occasionally kill somebody, a human being, but this game is full of violence. It's rated M for mature. Theoretically, kids should not be playing this game. We know that that's not the case. You know that from Grand Theft Autos, for example, one of the biggest selling game ever. That the mature rating does not stop kids from getting their hands on these games, but it's weird to me that this is happening. So, and what this is piggybacking off of is that I saw right after Stranger Things Season 3 came out a couple weeks ago, which was a great season, by the way. Highly recommend checking it out. I would be absolutely okay if they if they ended the show with that season. Excellent season, but they're apparently in every single episode of Season 3, there is somebody smoking a cigarette. And apparently that was a problem. And Netflix, after that, said that they would make an effort in their future creations to remove tobacco from their original programming. I get it. It's just, again, this is along the same lines of Gears 5. Stranger Things is a mature show. There's lots of cursing in there. There's lots of violence in there. Theoretically, again, your kids shouldn't be watching this. So I understand that tobacco can influence adults, and we know that, again, kids are watching these shows. I guess it's their prerogative. I guess if they want to remove tobacco, cool. But I find it interesting that they are choosing to remove it from these things that are already in there. And like Matt says in the chat, who smokes? Like, it's 2019, y'all. Like, there's not a whole, like, yeah, exactly. All these kids are vaping these days. That's what I guess you really need to worry about, is removing that hashtag Vape Nation, which you don't see a lot of in TV shows or video games. There's not a lot of tobacco things going on. And something like Stranger Things, that show's set in the 80s. I'm sorry, but lots of people smoked. So yeah, it's just not... I don't get it, but again, it's the company's prerogative. If Coalition wants to remove it out of Gears 5, fine. If Netflix wants to remove it from their shows, fine. I don't get why they're removing it from these shows that are already meant for mature audiences. I think you should definitely make a concerted effort to remove it from. You definitely should try and remove it from anything teen or below. But if it's already rated for mature, if it's already rated for adults, why are you letting us know that? But yeah, smoking is a weird movement to take right now. I agree, Robert, and it's a thing that me and Robert have had different discussions about other types of content that are going on in the media right now, where there's violence, there's sexuality, there's so on, and I just think that again, it's not the year to focus on that. Honestly, I think you could focus on violence. Gears 5 is going to have violence, but I think you could focus on working on violence in kids shows. You could focus on removing sexuality a little bit from kids shows. I think smoking, while still very prevalent, is not as prevalent and not, it's not mainstream anymore. It's not cool. But yeah, moving on. So this one by way of GameStop. Ubisoft has announced that over 100 PC games will launch on the Ubisoft. I just said Ubi and Ubi in two different sentences. On Ubisoft's now this is the part. Do you say Ubisoft's Uplay or do you say Ubisoft's Uplay or Uplay plus subscription? So they revealed a full list of their games. You can go find it if you would like. They announced this at E3 2019. They said that there's going to be over 100 games at launch, including the entire Assassin's Creed collection. Cool. Here's the thing that I've been thinking about recently in terms of, we know that streaming services are becoming big and honestly becoming a problem. They recently announced The Office was going to be leaving Netflix because that's going to be on, I think, CBS. No, not CBS. Maybe it's CBS? Sorry, there's too many to keep up with now. The Office is going to leave Netflix in 2 years to be on a separate streaming platform. Then, right after that, Friends was announced, and they're going to be on an HBO Plus or HBO Gold streaming service. So basically, all the major telecom companies, they are making their own streaming services. We already have CBS All Access. We already know and confirmed that Disney has their own coming out. HBO already exists, but I guess HBO's parent company that owns whatever Friends was on before. I think they own TBS, which has the TV rights to it, among other channels. All the telecom companies are coming out with it. And honestly, that's making it kind of hard to really want to keep up with that, because there's hours and hours of content. And so it might be time to go back to buying some DVDs or some Blu-rays, or ripping that stuff to a Plex server. Patrick's talked about the Plex server before. I'm now considering it in the future. But when it comes to video game services, I honestly think that there is great deals to be had there. So if I remember correctly, let me check the article. I think it mentioned it. Yes. So Uplay is packed with new releases in the first 12 months for only $14.99 a month. So for $14.99 a month, right out of the gate, you get access to over 100 games. $14.99 a month for over 100 games. Xbox Game Pass, same thing. I think is $9.99. Although they've added the combined tier with Xbox Gold now. I think for $14.99. I'd have to quickly look if somebody wants to double check me while we're live, but I think it's definitely over 100 games on Game Pass at this point. That's pretty good value. You could play games for a very long time. Just going through the Assassin's Creed collection alone, if you're a fan of those games, will take you forever. If you're over on Xbox Game Pass and you're playing through all the Halos, that's going to take you quite a while. I think I think the fact that the game companies are stealing this idea from the streaming company, from the telecom companies, I honestly think that that's okay for the gamers, because it's still easy to buy your individual games, both digitally and physically for the most part. There's still a great indie scene out there where you can buy lots and lots of games for cheap, but now there's going to be value there. Xbox Game Pass, for example, has some of the greatest value ever in the fact that every Xbox exclusive comes to Game Pass day one, I think, for the most part. If not every single game comes to Xbox Game Pass. With Uplay, that's what I'm going to call it, even though if you call it Ubisoft, I really think you should call it Uplay, but whatever. Is it Ubisoft or is it Ubi? I've always said Ubisoft. But I think that they're going to allow you to play Watch Dogs Legion on day one when that comes out. I think Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which is another upcoming game, I think they're going to add that to it. And so if they're letting you play all these games day one, $60 AAA experience games day one for $15 a month or $10 a month, that's pretty baller. So I'm not unhappy about that. And again, if you don't want it, who cares? You just go buy the game. You can just go buy your individual games and you'll be absolutely fine. What I think that we need to hear about soon, though, as we all know, I'm a big Sony fan. Sony needs to get in on this. They do have their streaming service that you can do, but it's PS3 games and some PS4 games. They need to look at Game Pass for the PS5 generation and do something. They don't have to, but with all the value that these other game companies are putting out there, I think they should. They absolutely should, and I would pay for it day one. If I got every single PlayStation exclusive, for example, for X amount per month, that was on. Let's go every PS4 exclusive, all new PS5 exclusives. Let's do a combination with PlayStation Now so that we can get these streaming PS3 exclusives, because they have to emulate PS3 somehow, and you were charging me $15 a month for that. I'm in. They should do that. Moving on. Speaking of Ubisoft, I won't go too far into this one because it's not really my wheelhouse, but they have had some controversy because they have teamed up again with company Hit Record, which, if you didn't know, is Joseph Gordon-Levitt's crowdsource. I don't really know of a way to describe Hit Record, but if you don't know Hit Record, you can look it up sometime. But he basically is for artists of all types. There's everything: music, graphic design, singing. Singing is music, but animation, etc. Can work on projects and get paid for it. So there's been some outcry because Ubisoft has worked with Hit Record in the past, and they are doing it again for Watch Dogs Legion. And people have a problem with that because they're not paying for what is known as spec work. Again, this isn't my wheelhouse, but apparently whenever you are trying to, get a company to hire you, they will hire you for spec work, which is show us your vision. Here's some money. Put together some kind of highlight reel or something, and maybe we'll hire you on full for our project. Maybe we won't, but no matter what, you're going to get paid to try and pitch us. But with Hit Record, they put out a project on there, and Ubisoft is not paying for them to volunteer, but if you do get picked, you will get money. So they released a statement for this, saying the Watch Dogs Legion audio team worldwide is already working with professional artists and composers on more than 140 licensed songs and an original score in the game. The additional contributions, no matter how large or small, from anyone within the Hit Record community are completely voluntary and are meant to give them a chance to have their own creative expressions included in the game. So basically they're saying they're already paying people, they just did this for, you know, extra. Although I still think that there is money at hit record, because that's the whole thing, is that you can get paid. But a lot of people were upset about this. There were a lot of other artists and game companies. Mike Bithell, for example, says, you know, this sucks, pay people for their labor. Cool. Again, I don't know what to think about this, because I'm not an artist, so I don't know what it's like. But what I do know from artist friends and people who do trades like this is that there's always somebody looking to capitalize off of you without making any money. You know, what is it that they what I hear a lot, the startup mentality. You know, you need to have a startup mentality where, you know, or exposure. That's the other thing. So there's startup mentality and there's exposure. You know, do this work for us. It's good exposure for you. It's good exposure for you to get. So I do know that there is that side of it where there's people always looking to take advantage of you and not pay you for it. Take advantage of your awesome services. So I don't know what side of this to be on. You know me, I'm normally a pro-business type guy, and that if they're making it clear that this is volunteer and that you don't have to do this, we're not hiring you, it's just if you want to participate, we're giving you the avenue, I see it. But from the other perspective, if a game that is going to be this big, and I intend to buy Watch Dogs Legion, I'm super excited about it. It looks amazing from E3. We talked about it during our E3 coverage. It looks extremely fascinating with the fact that you can literally play any character in the game that you talk to. That's crazy. So from that end of things, like, are they going to make any money off of that? I get it. And Robert in the chat, exposure. So obviously he's heard that word before. I know several friends, and it seems especially a lot of times it's photographers. Or I know some other graphic designers a lot of the time. They try and get paid in exposure. So I get it. I don't know what to think about this particular thing if they're making it clear, like, hey, you don't have to do this. I don't know. But this is the second time that Ubisoft's worked with hit record, and apparently they took some heat on it last time, but those people did get paid, I think. Don't quote me on that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a photographer, and the influencers are hype about that now, says Robert. Yeah, so, yeah, influencers. That's a whole other animal that I would love to break down sometime. Is anytime I see, I spend a lot of time on Twitter, you know, because it's where a lot of Twitter, as garbage as it can be for a lot of conversations, it's a good source for news of any kind of news, gaming news, world news, politics news, anything that you actually like are interested in. It's a real easy way to source that kind of information. But whenever I see influencer in somebody's job description, yeah, okay. Moving on. So this one comes by way of GameStop. Not GameSpot. Not GameStop. GameSpot. This one comes from GameSpot. You guys can tell I'm a little rusty, right? There is going to be no Borderlands 3 crossplay at launch, but Gearbox is committed to it. So Borderlands 3, a highly anticipated game. I think it's coming. Yeah, it's coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Is not going to start with crossplay. Apparently, Gearbox wanted to talk about a celebration of togetherness, and some people saw that as yeah, that means crossplay is coming, right? Which is an awesome idea for this game. Is apparently not going to happen at launch. The reason why I brought this up is because after what happened with and now I've forgotten which game, Fortnite is the first one that came to mind. There was one that launched with crossplay support recently. It was a free-to-play Monster Hunter type game. Sorry that I can't remember that, and I'm sorry for the pause. But after Fortnite had this big thing about crossplay, and the fact that, especially with Sony, we know that's like, I can tell you right now that Sony's the hang-up. I bet you dollars to donuts that Microsoft does not care if crossplay exists between Xbox and PC, especially because how invested in Microsoft is in the PC space now. We know that Sony's the linchpin. The reason why I bring it up is because just because certain games have gotten that crossplay support, do not expect Sony just to be like, oh yeah, sure. Of course, if anybody actually asks Sony about it, they'll be like, oh yeah, well, you know, they just have to approach us, right? And then somebody will come out and say, well, we approached you. So yeah, it's a bummer. This game should have it. I'm not necessarily saying that it needs it, but it needs it. It should have it. It's not a PvP game. It's a PvE game. It's a game where it's been very wanted for a long time. There's a lot of people that played Borderlands 2 and 1 and love them. I am one of them. I can't wait to play Borderlands 3. And it would be awesome if I could just play it on whatever I wanted and then be like, yo, you have it? Yeah, I got it on PC. Cool, let's jump in, and just have it be some type of, it probably requires some type of Gearbox sign-in, since I don't think Gearbox is launching it through, they might be launching it through Steam, but obviously Steam isn't on console. It would probably be some kind of login through some type of Borderlands server to get it done. But that's a bummer. They said that they want to do it, though. They said they're going to try and make it happen. But the fact that it's not launching, I think that does hurt it. But it's still going to be very successful with how much people want it. So, the next one is a combination store, because speaking of not crossplay, but PC Land. Two different games have had, these aren't the only two games that have had big problems with cheaters, but very recently, Apex Legends has had a lot of cheating problems, and then so has Overwatch. So my Apex Legends story comes from Engadget, and my Overwatch one comes from Rock Paper Shotgun. But basically, there are these two different game companies, are trying to fight against cheaters, and they both have their different methods for doing so. So I thought this was interesting in terms of combining the story. Apex Legends are going to put their cheaters against each other. So if they detect that you are cheating using aimbots or loot hacks, what they are planning on doing is putting you in a queue that only queues you up with other cheaters. I don't know why they wouldn't just straight up ban them, but that's their deterrent. And as somebody who watches a lot of Apex on Twitch, it's bad. It's super bad. So they introduced Season 2 this last month, and and with Season 2 came a ranked mode. Even in the ranked mode, lots and lots of cheaters. There is one player that I watch, TSM Vis. He's like a diamond player, which is like the second to the highest tier in ranked mode, and even like you just see that the cheaters are even getting up into those higher ranks. And if you have cheaters in your ranked mode, then your ranked mode isn't really legitimate. Then how are they getting up that high without getting caught? There's something crazy about that. So that's super bad. I guess it's interesting that they're trying to do that, but I don't know. I just ban them and figure out how to do it. But this is why I hate playing competitively on PC. I love games like Sea of Thieves on PC. I like playing Final Fantasy 14 on PC. Things that don't involve a lot of PvP. Because on console, for example, where the big Call of Duty is biggest on console, for those who don't know, biggest on PS4 to be precise. You can't cheat on console. I mean, you can, but it's a whole lot harder. There isn't a lot of aimbotting going on. in the console space. Console cheating generally has been more about lagging, lag switching, which is kind of like a thing where you could make it to where you can kind of jump all over the map based on how you're affecting your internet connection to the game. But it's not very common because it's annoying and not easy to do. And then what Overwatch is doing is they're just going to end matches. So I kind of like this. If their system detects that you're cheating, they're just going to shut down the match. And they have made it clear that you will not be penalized. So if you're in a rank mode and they detect cheating, they're not going to just shut you down and say, "Oops, sorry, you get negative on your rank mode." No, they're going to just shut it down mid-round as soon as it detects anything. I like this better. I think I do think that that's hard to do in a battle royale game because there's a lot more players in battle royale than there is in Overwatch. I think Overwatch is 10 or 12 players. Don't quote me on that because I don't remember. I'm gonna say 12. Somebody can correct me if they'd like. But good for them. They're trying to make it not fun. I know that's what the Apex Legends is trying to do too, but if I was cheating in Apex Legends and then I got queued with other cheaters in Apex Legends, I would just be like, "Hey, cheaters grudge match." Whereas in Overwatch, it's like, "Oh, I don't get to play anymore. Sad day." So I kind of like Overwatch's approach to that more. But either way, with both of these games, being completely, there is no solo experience for this. This is a online only game. It's an online competitive game. You got to do something about the cheating. And we are going to finish it up with a couple of Nintendo things. One, this is not like a confirmed thing, but it's something that I've been seeing a lot again on Twitter specifically and in gaming groups. But this one comes from Kotaku, that Joycon Drift is becoming a real problem. So apparently, and I have not experienced this, I've had my Switch for about 2 years now. I think I got it in July of 2017, and I still have my original Joy-Cons as well as a set of other newer Joy-Cons, where the thumbstick will have ghost movement. So people are calling it Joycon Drift. If you want to look it up, I've seen some videos on there, but basically it could be anything. In this particular story, they had it to where they mentioned that the camera was just panning over by itself. In this video that I'm not going to click on, but in this video, this character right here is this character on the left is just continually walking to the left. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, even though it's not like a confirmed story, is just because Nintendo, generally speaking, is known for quality hardware. Even with the Switch itself, the actual screen, they've done drop tests on that. I've seen it dropped from like 100 feet and still turned on. But the Joy-Cons, though, they broke during that drop. And with this, that's a quality problem. I mean, especially because Joy-Cons are stupid expensive, man. I think you can get them on sale for like $50, but I think generally speaking they're $60, $70, $80 depending on where you live and what country you live in. That's ridiculous. I have 3 DualShock 4s. The only reason one of them had an issue is because I took it apart to put in different sticks. I got some cool like metal sticks for my DualShock 4, and whenever I was connecting it back, I messed up the touchpad connection. So the touchpad stopped working. That was only because I messed with it. That's the only reason it stopped working. Whereas this Switch, this is just people that use their Switch every day, and It doesn't appear to be broken. Like I said, it's not like your old N64 stick days, right? Everybody remembers that, where especially after playing Mario Party, you break the stick on the N64 controller, and it would just slowly kind of just start sticking in one direction. No, there's nothing visibly wrong with the controller, but it has that problem. So Nintendo has not said anything about this yet. You can obviously file your warranty, but the warranty costs you money, and it's ridiculous that for a set of controllers that is expensive as it is, this shouldn't be happening. And honestly, I think it's something to worry about for the new upcoming Switch Lite, because those aren't going to be detachable Joy-Cons. So if your Joy-Con on the Switch Lite breaks, what are you supposed to do? Use your Pro Controller? There's no kickstand on the Switch Lite. It's made me, honestly, reading this article and seeing videos of it on Twitter has made me rethink the Switch Lite. And I want the Switch Lite for no reason whatsoever. I think it's cute. I literally posted that. I was like, I want this Switch for no reason. I have a Switch and it works perfectly fine, but I want the Switch Lite because I can. Lastly, staying with the Switch, because this is actually some interesting information. So they are doing a new Nintendo Switch model with longer battery life. So this one comes by way of IGN, where the new version is said to offer approximately between 4.5 and 9 hours of battery life, compared to 2.5 to 6.5 hours now. And one thing that they noted in the game that specifically where I noticed the battery life just sucks. So on my current Switch, and this is exactly right, on the current Switch, Breath of the Wild runs for 3 hours and then dies if you get that far. But they said on the new one it's going to run for 5.5 hours, which is pretty dope. The thing that is interesting is they're just sticking a new battery in the current modeled Switch. They're going to have a new hardware number. You'll be able to tell by the serial number. So if you're ever considering buying one used, you can easily look it up online what model number and what serial number it should start with. It should start with XKW. That means that it has extended battery life. And then if you're buying it new from a store, you're going to look for bright red packaging. These are going to come out in August. The new model is going to go on sale in the UK in September, but in August in US, both in gray and blue-red. They said that everybody's been waiting for the Switch Pro. It's what we all want, right? We want the one that has a beefier screen that can run I think 1080 in handheld mode, which would take your battery life back down, by the way. But right now it runs 720, if that, depending on the game. I think with Witcher 3 coming out, I think I noted during the E3 coverage that Witcher 3 is going to be running handheld 520p, and then in docked mode, I think 720 for Witcher 3. So we're waiting for a beefier graphics card, graphics card, which I believe NVIDIA, there's a new mobile card coming out soon, and so maybe that's why the Switch Pro hasn't come out yet or been announced yet. But this is the reason why this is interesting, is just like, it's kind of, I mean, they're mentioning it obviously that it's coming out, but it's basically like, so here's the Switch Lite. It's cheaper. Switch Lite's going to be $199. I assume this new Switch is just going to be replacing the current SKU, so it's going to be still priced at $299. But if you haven't gotten a Switch yet, you're going to have a couple options this fall. If you want the Switch Lite at $199 with a slightly smaller screen, or the Switch proper with a better battery, those are going to be options for you. I'm even tempted myself to just trade in my current Switch and buy a new one. I'm wondering if GameStop will have any trade-in deals during that time, because if they have a trade-in deal where I can just trade in my current Switch, upgrade to the one with better battery life, there's a fat chance I might do that. I almost exclusively play my Switch in handheld mode. I don't get the point of docking it. It's a handheld console to me. It's a fantastic handheld console. The only time I have docked it is to play Smash with my friends, and to play Mario Kart with my friends, and play Mario Party with my friends. Like for the party factor, it's great to have that docking ability. But 99% of the time, it's, you know, my wife's watching TV and I'm in there, you know, chilling on the Switch. You know, that way I'm not hogging the TV all the time like I do with my PlayStation, like I have been playing Persona 5. Literally, like, you know, the past few weeks where, you know, we've discovered being home all day. Luckily, we both got time off of work. Being home all day, you realize how little crap, or how much crap there is on TV, how little actual content there is. So I've been playing a lot of Persona 5, monopolizing the TV. But I feel bad about that sometimes, and that's where the Switch comes in. Get to play that handheld mode. So if you're looking to check that out, that's going to come out here in the States in August. I believe that is it. I want to make sure I have all my stories down. Yes. So thank you very much for hanging out again. Hopefully it didn't look too terrible. I know that it's a little bit different looking than it normally is, but I do appreciate those who stopped in and left some comments live. What are you guys playing right now? How's your summertime lull? And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. I believe it is going to be me again solo next week, but we will cross that bridge when we come to it. But I was Owen. This is the LAN Cave. I hope you have a great rest of your night.